When I think about the bond that connects people, the invisible thread that weaves through generations, through families, through our shared journey as a nation, I find myself drawn to the quiet strength that lies in togetherness. It is not the kind of strength that shouts or demands. It is the kind that endures, that understands, that listens. It is the kind that knows that what one does affects all, and it begins, as most things do, with a sense of belonging to each other, to something greater than ourselves. There is a certain beauty in standing side by side, not as individuals seeking separate destinies, but as companions walking toward a shared horizon. In my own life, that meaning has been shaped by the people who walk beside me, by the hands that have guided me, and by the voices that have whispered encouragement when I most needed it. There is a quiet lesson in that we rise by lifting one another, that no responsibility, no matter how heavy, can truly be carried alone. Unity is not only a word we repeat on days of celebration or remembrance. It is a daily choice, to listen when it is easier to speak, to forgive when we could hold back, to give when we might choose to keep. It is the awareness that we are bound by a common fate, that our paths intertwine, even when we do not see it. The promise of tomorrow depends on the harmony of today, and each act of kindness, each moment of understanding, becomes a brick in the foundation we are building for those who come after us. There are moments in life when one feels the weight of expectation. To live for more than oneself can sometimes feel like walking a narrow bridge between past and future. But it is in those moments that the heart finds its truest rhythm, when it beats not only for itself, but for the hopes of others. That is where unity lives, not in perfection, but in the quiet courage to care. I have learned that we are never alone in what we do. Even when the path feels uncertain, even when the world seems divided, there are always voices, soft but steady, reminding us that we are part of something enduring. The strength of a nation, of a family, of any community, lies in that shared understanding that our fates are linked, and when one of us moves forward, it becomes a step for all. In that sense, duty is not a command, but a calling. It is the whisper that tells us to give our best, even when no one is watching. It is the quiet discipline of showing up for our studies, our work, our communities, with integrity and intention. It is knowing that the smallest actions, done with care, can shape the course of a life, or even the destiny of a country. When I think of my own journey, I think of all those who have shown me what this means. Teachers who have taught me to think before I speak, people who have taught me to act before I judge, and those who have reminded me that to lead is to serve. Duty lives in those gestures, in respect for the laws that guide us, in gratitude for the people who protect us, in reverence for the history that has built us. But above all, it lives in unity, in the bond between those who share the same purpose. We cannot speak of responsibility without speaking of trust. To be trusted by others is one of the greatest honors a person can hold. It is not something granted lightly, and it must be renewed through action, every day. Trust grows when we keep our word, when we act with honesty, when we seek fairness, even when it is inconvenient. It is in these quiet acts of integrity that a society strengthens its roots, and just as no tree stands tall without the support of the soil beneath it, no person stands strong without the unity of those around them. In times of change, unity becomes both the challenge and the gift. The world evolves, and with it come new questions, new fears, new opportunities. But even as the landscape shifts, the values that hold us together must remain steady. respect, compassion, and truth. They are the compass points that keep us from losing our way. If we can protect those values, then whatever challenges come, we will face them not as strangers, but as one people, one family. There is something profoundly moving about watching people come together. Whether it is students working for a cause, communities rebuilding after hardship, or a nation standing in silence to remember those who came before. In those moments, you see the true spirit of unity. It is not loud or showy. It is a quiet determination that says we belong to each other, and we will move forward together. As I speak to you now, I think of the future, of all that lies ahead for my generation, and for the generations that will follow. We will each have our part to play, and though our roles may differ, our purpose is shared. We must learn from one another, support one another, and believe that through cooperation and empathy, we can build something better than what came before. Unity asks for patience. It asks us to see the humanity in one another, to find light even where we disagree. And when we do, we find that the distance between us is not as great as it seemed. The shadows that once separated us begin to fade, and in their place, the warmth of understanding grows. Our strength as a people lies not in what divides us, but in what brings us together. Our love for the same skies, our faith in progress, our belief that every person has worth. That is what it means to stand united, to see beyond ourselves, and to hold the line together for something greater. And so, as we look toward what is coming, the challenges, the opportunities, the unknown, I hope we remember that no light is ever truly bright if it shines alone. It is when many lights burn together that we see clearly, and when many hearts beat together that we endure. If we can hold fast to that truth, that our strength comes from unity, and our purpose from the call to serve, then the path ahead, though long, will be filled with meaning. The world may test us, time may change us, but what we stand for must remain. So let us walk on, not as separate voices, but as a single, harmonious chorus. Let us listen deeply, act wisely, and live with compassion. For in the end, the truest legacy we can leave is not found in titles or in words, but in the quiet certainty that we stood together, and that together we did what was right. And when we look back one day, may we see that our shadows, once many, had always moved as one. There are moments in life when we are asked not only who we are, but where we come from. Those questions echo quietly through our hearts, reminding us that identity is not a mask we wear, but a story we continue to write. It is made up of memories that are older than we are, of language, of traditions, of voices that once spoke and now rest, trusting that we will carry their meaning forward. Heritage is not something distant or ceremonial. It lives in the way we speak, in the way we treat others, in the way we remember. From a young age, I have understood that what we inherit is more than names or symbols. It is a way of belonging. It is the thread that ties generations together, binding the past to the present, and the present to the future. I think often about the people who came before me. Their courage, their choices, their hopes. Each one has left an imprint that still guides the rhythm of our days. To know them is to understand that our identity is both personal and collective, that we are never just one story, but part of many. There is beauty in the diversity of our roots. In each region, in each tradition, there are expressions of love for the same land, the same sky. The melodies may differ, but the harmony they create belongs to everyone. Our languages, our festivals, our customs, all are mirrors reflecting who we are. They remind us that unity does not require sameness. True identity is not about closing doors, but about opening them wide enough for every voice to be heard. I have often thought that to know where we come from is to find direction in where we are going. The lessons of history, the triumphs and the mistakes, shape the compass of our conscience. They teach us humility, they demand responsibility. To honor our heritage is to learn from it, not to repeat it blindly, but to build upon its wisdom. It is to preserve its beauty, while giving it new meaning for our time. Identity, in that sense, is not fixed. It breathes, it grows, it changes with us. It invites each generation to renew the promise of belonging. We cannot choose the century we are born into, but we can choose how to live within it. Whether to forget, or to remember, whether to isolate, or to connect. And I believe that remembering, with gratitude and with grace, gives us strength. There is something profoundly moving about hearing the same words spoken by different voices. The words of a national anthem, a poem, or a prayer. They remind us that even though time passes, there are emotions that remain unchanged: love for our homeland, pride in our people, faith in the values that hold us together. Those things are not written only in books, they are written in our daily acts. In the way we greet one another, the way we stand up for what is right, the way we care for those who need us. Heritage is also a promise. It is the quiet assurance that we belong to something larger than ourselves, and that our choices today will one day become someone else's history. It humbles us because it reminds us that we are only a chapter, not the whole story, but it also uplifts us because it tells us that what we do matters. The bridges we build, the kindness we give, the respect we show, all become part of the heritage we will pass on. I have felt this deeply when representing my country abroad. The realization that I carry with me not just my name, but the name of everyone who calls this land home. Each conversation, each moment of connection, is an opportunity to show the world what our heritage truly means, a blend of strength and kindness, of pride and humility. It is not a claim of superiority, but a gesture of openness, a way of saying, this is who we are, and we are ready to listen to who you are too. Identity, at its heart, is about authenticity. It is about being true to what we value, even when times change. It is easy to lose sight of that in a world that moves quickly, where comparison is constant and voices are many. But the quiet truth remains that we are strongest when we stay anchored in our roots. The winds of modern life may shift us, but they cannot uproot us if we remember where we began. There are times when heritage is felt most deeply in silence, in the sound of church bells over a village, in the smell of a meal shared with family, in the stories told by grandparents as the evening fades. Those moments carry an invisible wisdom. They remind us that progress and tradition are not enemies. We can walk toward the future with our hands full of memory, and still reach for what is new. Every generation faces the task of redefining its identity. For mine, it means learning to bridge what we inherit with what we imagine. It means holding on to the values that define us: respect, compassion, integrity, while understanding the changes that shape our world. The challenge is to stay faithful to our essence while daring to grow. That is how heritage remains alive through adaptation guided by respect. Sometimes, when I think of the history of our country, I imagine it as a great tapestry, vast, intricate, woven with thousands of colors. Each thread represents a life, a dream, a contribution. Some threads are bright, others faded, but together they form something enduring and whole. My place, our place, is to add to that tapestry with care, to make sure the colors we add are worthy of those that came before. In a world that often celebrates what separates us, remembering our shared identity becomes an act of courage. It is a reminder that our differences do not divide us, they enrich us. To honor one's heritage does not mean closing oneself to others. It means standing firmly enough in who you are to meet the world with confidence and generosity. There is an unspoken duty that comes with belonging, to protect what is precious, to preserve what is fragile, and to pass it on with love. Our traditions, our languages, our art, our landscapes, they are treasures, but they are also responsibilities. If we cherish them, they will continue to give meaning to the lives of those who follow. And yet, our greatest inheritance is not something we can see or touch. It is the sense of continuity, of being part of a story that began long before us and will continue long after. It is the courage to stand where others once stood, and the hope to believe that what we do now will matter to someone we may never meet. That is the essence of identity, the meeting point between memory and purpose. As I look ahead, I feel both gratitude and determination. Gratitude for all that has shaped me, the people, the land, the traditions, and determination to honor that inheritance through the life I lead. To know who we are is to move forward with confidence. To forget is to lose our way. The past does not hold us back, it lights the path before us. And so, as we continue to walk together, as families, as citizens, as companions of the same destiny, may we remember that our heritage is not a relic, but a living flame. May we protect it with pride, nurture it with kindness, and share it with humility. Because in knowing who we are, we also discover who we can become. There is something quietly powerful about believing in what is yet to come. Hope is not just a word we repeat when days are bright. It is the light we hold on to when everything around us feels uncertain. It is a choice, not always easy, but always necessary. It begins in the heart, where courage and patience meet, and it grows in every act of faith, in every small gesture that says, "Tomorrow will be better because we will make it so." When I look around me, at my generation and the one that will follow, I feel that strength. We live in a world that moves fast, full of change and challenge, but also full of promise. We are surrounded by new ideas, by people who want to learn, who want to build, who want to care. Hope, to me, is not simply waiting for the future to unfold. It is shaping it with intention. It is knowing that what we dream can become real if we are willing to give ourselves to it fully. The future begins with the choices we make today. Every decision, no matter how small, has a ripple effect. When we choose kindness instead of indifference, curiosity instead of judgment, compassion instead of comfort, we create the conditions for hope to flourish. The future does not belong to those who stand still. It belongs to those who believe that each step forward, no matter how small, matters. There are moments when it feels difficult to keep faith. The world can seem divided, the problems too complex, the noise too loud. But it is in those moments that hope is most needed. It does not erase difficulty, but it reminds us that nothing is final until we stop trying. I have learned that even the smallest act, a smile, a conversation, a shared effort, can change the course of a day, or even a life. It is through these gestures that hope becomes tangible, something we can feel and pass on. When I think of the future, I see faces, young people studying, creating, imagining. I see hands planting trees, building homes, writing music, helping others. I see the quiet, steady energy of those who may never be known by name, yet whose work will build the world to come. They are the heartbeat of the future. And I feel a deep sense of trust in that. Trust that each generation carries within it the strength to renew, to heal, to create. Hope is not blind to reality. It sees clearly. It acknowledges the challenges, the fears, the things that must change. But it refuses to let those things define what is possible. It is, in many ways, an act of resistance against cynicism, against despair, against the temptation to give up. It reminds us that the future is not written yet, that every day offers a chance to begin again. The future we build must be guided by conscience. It cannot be shaped by ambition alone, but by empathy, by understanding that progress without humanity is hollow. Hope asks us to balance dreams with duty, vision with responsibility. It reminds us that growth is not only measured in technology or achievement, but in how we treat one another, how we care for the planet, how we ensure that no one is left behind. Sometimes I think of hope as a bridge, delicate, perhaps, but strong enough to carry us from what is to what can be. Each of us contributes a piece to that bridge, our ideas, our work, our compassion. No single person can build it alone. It requires the collective effort of many hands, each trusting that the structure will hold. That is what makes hope so beautiful. It is shared. It grows stronger the more we give it away. I have learned, through experience and reflection, that hope does not demand perfection. It asks only for sincerity, for the willingness to try again, to learn, to care. It asks us to look beyond fear and see potential. The future will not be free of challenges. Every era faces its trials. But the measure of a people is how they meet them, whether with division or unity, with doubt or with purpose. For me, hope is tied to gratitude. It comes from recognizing the gifts we already have, the love of family, the strength of community, the peace of our land, and using them wisely. When we appreciate what is around us, we understand more clearly what must be protected. Gratitude grounds hope, it gives it roots, so that it can grow tall and lasting. To believe in the future is also to believe in each other. It means trusting that even in disagreement, we share the same desire for peace, for dignity, for meaning. It means understanding that no one's future can truly thrive at the expense of another's. Hope calls us to cooperation, to dialogue, to the quiet courage of seeing the humanity in everyone. I often think of those who came before us, who lived through uncertainty and yet still dreamed of something better. Their hope built the world we know today. Not through grand gestures, but through persistence, through the belief that change is possible, even in the smallest of ways. Now it is our turn. The torch has passed, and what we do with it will determine the brightness of the path ahead. The future is not something far away, it begins here, in this moment, in the way we treat one another, in the way we listen, in the way we care for the earth that sustains us. Every sunrise is an invitation to start again. The question is not whether we will face challenges, but whether we will face them together, and I believe we will. There is so much reason for hope. In the creativity of young people, in the wisdom of the old, in the compassion of communities that come together after hardship. These things remind me that even in times of difficulty, goodness endures. It might not make headlines, but it changes lives quietly, steadily, and that is what shapes the future most deeply. We live in a world that often asks for certainty, but the truth is that the most beautiful things in life begin with uncertainty, with a leap of faith. Hope is that leap. It is the belief that, though we cannot see every step ahead, we can trust the journey if we walk with honesty and heart. As we look forward, Let us remember that hope is not a gift we wait to receive, but a task we are called to fulfill. It is built in classrooms, in conversations, in the compassion we show to strangers. It is renewed every time we choose understanding over anger, courage over fear, and love over indifference. And one day, when those who come after us look back, I hope they see that we believed in them, that we worked for a world where they could live freely, where they could dream without fear, where they could build without barriers. That, perhaps, is the purest meaning of hope, not something we keep, but something we give. So let us walk forward with steady hearts. Let us hold on to the light even when the night feels long. Let us trust that the future, though unknown, is worth every effort, every sacrifice, every dream. Because the future is not something waiting to happen. It is something we are already creating together. And when that future arrives, may it find us with our heads held high, our hearts open, and our hands joined, as those who believed not only in what could be, but in what we could become.